Digital economy, communication, technology, customer, community, network, social media. VMC, the Vascellari media channel.
Interested people. My question will be, how long does it take, what do you think, until the data portability thing will be widely adopted and accepted, and how will be the effects of our usage of the internet by this?
It's a very good question. Difficult to predict. I will predict that it will never be entirely adopted. I think it will be, what I would say is it's going to be a lot like what happened with free software. You know, you saw, Richard Stallman, out in 1984 saying, this is going to be an issue. It wasn't really till, 10 or 15 years later that everybody realized that he was right, that it really was an issue, that proprietary software was going to be a problem. But also by the time people realized it was no longer the problem because, free and open source software that was not political, that was not driven by Richard's, namely the internet, had taken over the world, right, and undermined Microsoft even more than Linux had.
So you think it will be
so
like
I think,
movement?
Yeah, what's going to happen? I think there will be a very strong, open data movement at some point that will be kind of analogous to the Free Software Foundation. But what will really kill, sort of the proprietary data silos is that somebody will figure out an architectural solution or a type of program or whatever, something that spreads, wildly, that actually depends on free data and open data. And that free and open data, architecture that takes over the world unexpectedly because it works, because it matters, because it enables new things, is what will undermine the proprietary data silos. Not the fact that we've, tried to legislate it or because ultimately, I quoted this morning in an interview with a journalist. There's this fabulous quote from Lao Tzu, of Taoism, from The Way of Life, quoting Lao Tzu. He says, losing the way of life, men rely on goodness. Losing goodness, they rely on laws. And, we keep trying to legislate some of these things. And I think, first of all, I think that people are fundamentally good, and a lot of what happens on the internet is driven by idealism. But even more powerful than that is the way of life, and that is figuring out an architecture, a design that actually just works. Richard Stallman was trying to legislate, free software, but the design, the architecture of the internet made free software happen because it just worked better than proprietary. And I think, that's where we're going to get to. We'll figure out some new ways where it just works better. It is the way of life, to be, have free and open data.
So the adoption of data portability will be like a natural process.
That's right, yes. It will be a natural process. And what we can do, I think, of course, is, is to seek out those ways in which we gain advantage by being open. And that is, in fact, what companies are doing. And you see it already. Yahoo with Fire Eagle. They're saying, wow, how do we get competitive advantage by being open?
I mean, I think you're seeing this already implemented in the Open Web Foundation.
Sure.
And really, the protocol or the spec that I think is driving this or the best example of this is OAuth, which is a great way of sharing out data without taking away user control. And so you see it with Flickr. Hopefully, someday we'll see it with Twitter, Doppler. These are all great usages of this that are allowing people to share their data out.
But isn't this more about the ownership of data?
Data portability? Well, I mean, if you're not going to get this decree that says that all data can be moved around, and even if you did, you're still going to have to decide access. You're going to still have to figure out syncing of that data. And that's where something like OAuth comes in, where people are able to move data around between applications and control who has it and control who's the master of it.
So the fundamental thing I think that's also important to understand in the web era, we may own our individual data, but when the value comes from having our individual data be part of a collective, it's very hard to take it out. Sure. This is the story of robots.txt, right? So yes, you own your website data, but you really don't want to be in Google? That was fought. There was a law case back in the 90s where people were saying, oh, we don't want to be spidered. Well, before long, it was sort of like, give me a break. You don't want to be spidered? Are you nuts? Brewster Kahle at the Internet Archive used to, he did this with television too. He would put all this stuff in the archive, and people would say, no, take it out. And he'd say, oh, you don't want to be part of the public record? And they would say, oh yeah, I guess I do. And there's some real challenges there, because this is a world in which collective data is extremely valuable. And when we pull ourselves, what we take out of the collective may become less valuable even to us.